To Grace Talks. Welcome back. I am glad to be with you again this month to talk to you about the returning of the light that never left. So as we finish up our Lenten season in the middle of April with Easter coming, we are coming into a time of the full restoration of light. And our planet does a lovely job. The universe does a lovely job of reminding us, at least in the Northern Hemisphere this time of year, about the return of light and what it does in the world and what it does in us. So if we think of those things like springtime colors, things sprouting and blooming, snow melting, making moist earth for the sprouting of seeds, we can think about these same things in ourselves as we've been reflecting in Lent on what we want to clean out, what we want to clear out, like tilling the garden, taking out the rocks, cleaning out the grubs, taking out things that keep us heavy and downtrodden. So, there's a lot to talk about with light. We can think about it metaphorically, or we can think about it scientifically. Science has shown that we're made of the same substance as the stars. So I think it was Crosby, Stills, and Nash who said we are stardust. And if we think about ourselves that way, then we can stop thinking of ourselves as just matter, just form, just mind. And in doing that, we re-anchor our sense of self into something much deeper and much lighter in weight and lighter in shininess. So we have lots of ways that we talk about that. The songs like This Little Light of Mine, I'm Gonna Let It Shine. We talk about shining your light. Mumford & Sons has a great song called Lover of the Light. So if we are to imagine ourselves as beings of light, as flames that are eternal inside of us, that are in a container of a sort, whether that is under a bushel or whether that is in a nice lantern, and that sometimes our lantern, that glass part, gets stained with smoke, and we have to clean it off in order for the light to shine through in a way that brings takes away darkness from our space. So if I have a dirty lantern and I light it up, it's not going to put off a lot of light. Doesn't mean that there's not light in there. It just means it's not going to shine through that lantern so well. So part of the Lenten process is to clean up the lantern best we can. What are the big things that are in the way of us shining as brightly as we can, or as brightly as we'd like to? What are the things in the way of remembering that we have that light burning inside of us? And in the Christian tradition, Easter time is a time where Jesus the Christ focused on and sacrificed his physical life for the sake of others being able to return to eternal life, return to the eternal life inside of them. So Jesus said things like, my Father and I are one. If your eye be single, your whole body will be full of light. This and more you shall do, when people talked to him about the miracles that he did. So if we take him at his word, then we can say, as we turn our attention inward and cultivate the feeling of energy, the feeling of light and love and life that comes out of our being, and we try to imagine it radiating out of us, like the sun being restored to the sky in its fullness and its power, then we too can be suns that radiate and emanate a life-giving force that allows other people to sprout and blossom and bloom in the beauty of their own nature. And then we celebrate with them in that. We celebrate that they are blossoming. We are free to blossom. Life is about blossoming. We don't have to be afraid, and we don't have to separate ourselves from others in order to make that shining happen. In fact, our job is to carry as much of that light as we can wherever we go and nourish the budding light in other people. Help show the things that need to be cleared away, not by judging or criticizing or pointing them out, but by focusing on the light inside there. So once we reestablish a connection with the light inside of ourselves, It's easier to see the things that are heavy, that are causing shadows, that are keeping us from being lighthearted. And then it's easier to take care of them because we're not motivated by shame and guilt and fear. We're motivated by love and freedom and peace and a desire to be of help to others, a desire to shine our light in that kind of liberated freedom that, a hippie or a child would do, just being full of life. That is a very attractive quality, and it's also a very healing quality, because everywhere you go where you're carrying that light, when you're letting it shine brightly, intentionally shining it brightly, consciously shining it brightly, the people around you will feel that as acceptance and peace and joy and all the good stuff in life. Compassion, for what's happening with them in their suffering. So this is a good time of year to remember this. Jesus' crucifixion, resurrection is a story about victory over death. And death is the absence of life, the absence of light. That's what, if the sun went out, we would all die. So don't let the sun go out inside of yourself. As a matter of fact, clear the way for it to come out and be victorious over the little deaths of life, the attacks on our self-esteem, the attacks on our body, the things that happen in life, suffering. Let our light shine so that we can overcome those things. Not to say that we're not going to experience them. Life can be hard sometimes for us and for others, but being in it together and remembering that this is the nature of our being, that we have this capacity to shine and to love and to nourish and help grow, that this can be the guiding force in our life. And if we allow it to be the guiding force, we'll know what to say, we'll know what to do. We won't have to worry and think about it. We will just blossom and let off the scent of our blossoming, which is a scent of acceptance, compassion, peace. See how easy that is? Now, I know that sometimes things that are easy aren't simple. So as a minister, as a psychologist, as a teacher, I don't like to have people focus so much on what's wrong, because when we focus our attention on something, it adds life to it, it adds creative force to it, which makes it grow. So it's not that you're going to pretend nothing's wrong or nothing needs fixing. It's that you're going to focus on the light, and that light is going to grow to such an intensity that it will just burn off the stuff that's no longer useful to you. You don't put any attention there, no life can grow. It can't continue. So how can we all become bearers of the light, lovers of the light? We spend our time in meditation and prayer reflecting on things, correcting things that we see that we wish were more useful, more helpful to ourselves and others. Imagining our being, our physical being, as a radiant instrument of light. So when you look at someone, when you hug them and your heart touches their heart, when you touch them with your hands, when you do something for them, when you cook, let that radiant light from your being go right into the thing that you're doing, right into the task that you're doing at home on behalf of those that you love, right into cooking something for those that you want to feed, right into making someone's bed or folding their clothes, or letting someone go ahead of you, or holding the door at the grocery store. If these are mechanical, physical things we do without any consciousness and love behind them, we're losing an opportunity to love through simple things that can carry the essence of our presence along with doing something that's useful, that's helpful, that's kind. So how do we do that? We have to get in touch with what's inside of us, the part of us that wants to love. Now, I know if you're listening to this, that's true about you. Otherwise, you wouldn't spend any time listening to me talk about how to bring more light and love into your world, into your life, and into your world, into our world. But it is essential that we focus on what we want to grow and not the things that make us feel heavy and low. It is essential that we restore ourselves to the truth and innocence of our own good heart and the light that's in there, and that we cultivate it, just like the garden. Soon we'll be able to get out there in the garden here in New Hampshire, and we cultivate that garden. We plant things and we love them and we put our attention on them. We water them. We make sure they get sunshine and fertilizer. go fuss over them, talk to them, love them, and they grow and they blossom and they bear fruit, and then they nourish us in return. That's what we can do for one another. So think of this season, this month of April, as our time to practice doing that more. So March, we cleared things out. In April, we're going to let it shine. Let it shine. And the reason I call this the return to the light that never left is because we're not creating that light in anyone. It's already there. We're just uncovering it, focusing on it, and clearing the way for it to shine, which is its natural expression. We don't have to do anything to ourselves to be shiny, life-enhancing, loving people. We just have to get some stuff out of the way that keeps us from sharing that as consistently as we might like. It's not to say that you don't need to take care of yourself and take time to restore yourself and reconnect. Those practices that we do daily that help us connect to that light and to that deep heart's desire and that restore us to the fullness of our being, those are important too. How would it be that God would make us and we didn't get to enjoy the life that we're giving? There's a passage in the Bible that says, we love because first we were loved. So we get to have the love of the creator, of the creative force of nature, and the love of other people. It encourages and enhances us. It makes us shine brighter. And then we go out and all those people that we touch, we return that to, we pass it on. We pay it forward. Not in a way that is like, oh, I'm going to pay it forward so then I feel better, but because it's our nature. We don't have to do anything. It's our nature. So I hope that you'll join me in shining more brightly and letting that light that's inside of you come out to play and consciously allowing it to inform and guide and bless everything that you do and all the people that you meet and all the things that you do in your everyday life, whether that's at the grocery store or with your family or in your job, whatever you're doing, that you let that be the motivating force. And even in these difficult days, these unclear and uncertain days of politics, we need to let that be our driving force, that light and love inside of us, and not let it become bitter and hateful. The light is strong. It can't help but win, right? Light's used to kill bacteria. It's used to enhance growth. It's used for all kinds of wonderful reasons. So if we think of ourselves that way, if we think my job is to shine as bright as I can and be as light as I can, focusing on what I want to grow, not what I want to diminish, then our creative force moves in the direction of what we want to grow, which is, I believe, a world that is compassionate, that considers the needs of everyone, and that reflects on the outside world in our communities how we want to be treated ourselves, right? That little golden rule that's been around forever. How do we treat others the way that we want to be treated? Well, it is our nature to do that. And when we cultivate this light inside of us, we'll have more energy, more of our attention, more of our consciousness on doing that. But not in a punitive way, not in a self-judging way, in a way that just encourages and enhances that radiation around us, that bubble around us that people will feel. The bigger and stronger it is, the more positive influence it has, the more love it creates. Love begets love. It's the only thing that works. We've tried other things over lots of years of humankind that haven't been successful. The ones that last, the ones we remember, are the ones who used love to conquer all of the things. So I send you my blessings and my prayers as we go into this Easter season, that you too will have victory over all the little deaths of life. And that in doing so, your light will shine brightly and bless many, many people. And I will hold that prayer for you, and I'll hold that reality for you in my consciousness. And I hope that you will cultivate that in yourself and that you'll hold that truth for other people as well. So blessings to you in this Easter season.